Welcome to the FARMacist, assisting crops on your farm and digging into agriculture. Today I am going to be talking about boron. And really, boron isn't that boring. When I did a lot of research on it, I know that we can use it in our crops, but gosh, there's a lot of things that boron's used for. So stick with me if you farm or if you don't, if you want to learn about boron. Let's dig in. All right, boron 101. It is a unique molecule, and in agriculture, we do use it. If our crops, I've seen it foliar applied on crops for flowering. I'm gonna let you. I'll dig into that with the farmers a little bit later. But I just want to give a rundown of what. There's several different forms of boron. There's boron, there's borates, there's boric acid, which we use in agriculture, or boron oxide. The most common form is amorphous boron, which is a dark powder. But when you're looking at it, where is it found? Boron is primarily found in borax. Like you get that white box on the bottom shelf at Walmart. It says borax, and I'm sure our grandmothers used a lot of this for cleaning. I've even made laundry detergent out of it. But it is borax. It's in a hydrated sodium borates. It's a boron mined. It's mined locally in Turkey and in the U.S., Argentina, Chile, Russia, China, Peru. In its natural state, boron has a low solubility, meaning it forms salts relatively easily. It can be mined from minerals such as, I can't even say these words. Colemanite. I'm sounding like Superman here. Colemanite. Kernite. But the borate ore is extracted, combination of drilling, blasting, shoveling. So this is not an easy process to get the stuff to even put on our crops or put in a borax box. But there's a lot of chemistry in this science, guys. Let's look at, boron is used in a variety of applications. Obviously, your fertilizers, glass production, detergents, which I mentioned, pharmaceuticals, and let's see what else. It's a micronutrient for plant growth. I'm going to talk about that. Building cell walls. Important in glass production. I had no idea it did that. Wow. I didn't know idea. It significantly lowers the melting temperature required for glass production. See, you learned something. It's used in detergent, like I mentioned. It's a cleaner and concentrated enzymes. Let's see what else we got here. I'm pulling this all from borates.today. That's where I'm getting this information. I'll leave a link for you. But here's the nuts and bolts of boron. It is very, very important for your crops because this is what it does. Boron regulates the flowering and fruiting. So your flowers and your setting of your crop factories. And I've talked about this before. I like to think about your crop. Let's dig deeper. You have a crop, but think about it as you having millions or billions of factories. All right. Every single factory has one purpose in life. Their purpose, if it's a corn plant, is to reproduce. Their purpose, if it is a soybean plant, is to reproduce. The purpose, if it's a water hemp plant, I don't care what plant it is, its goal in life is to reproduce. And so this is why boron is important, because flowering is very, very important to set seed, which is our grain, which we sell. That's how we make a living. So boron, if you're deficient in boron, that you got to have everything in sync. Everything's got to be running. I use the example that nitrogen is your engine, phosphorus is your gas, potassium. If you've ever cut potassium, I've got some maps to show you. Do not ever cut potassium because potassium also plays with nitrogen and sulfur plays with nitrogen. Boron is one of those that you don't really think about. That's why I'm calling it the boring boron. But it's very, very important for flowering and fruit set. And it's also important to move those sugars across the plant to that fruit. That is a thing that boron does. It's important with cell division when you get into the biology of it. The nitrogen assimilation, like I mentioned, it does have, those benefits too, to help with assimilation of nitrogen and it's everything plays into nitrogen. It's all the protein and everything. But you think of these plants, your crop, think of them as factories, all right? The other thing that boron is very important for is the movement of hormones. Say what? Okay, plants do have hormones. It's just not it's just not females, guys. Your plants have hormones too. So I I always laugh at that when I'm talking to farmers. But yeah, your plants do have hormones. But if you don't have boron, those plants cannot move those hormones, and that's important. So not the same hormones, obviously, that we as humans have, but plants do have hormones. And the bigger thing is the pollen, the germination. Setting that seed for that grain, the crop is very important. Also, if boron plays a need in that. And last year, in 2023, I know a lot of majority of the nation was drier conditions, and boron does regulate water use in that crop factory. And really, when you look at it in soils, you don't need a lot of it. Only like 1 to 2 parts per million. But in order to control it, you do need high calcium levels to control it. Low calcium, that means it's gonna pull rapidly in that plant. If you have poor NPK sulfur, that calcium magnesium balance, that's all a part of the equation to make boron work. So you've got to have all those first things in line in order to make your boron that you're buying and maybe applying to work. So if you're just applying boron and everything else is out of sync, don't expect it to work. And just a disclosure, I don't sell boron. I don't work for I'm not selling you anything here. I'm just trying to educate you on boron. Wow, I had no idea that I could talk 8 minutes on boron. That just amazes me. Maybe you didn't get anything out of it besides what it's good for. And it is kind of a boring nutrient. So sorry to bore you with a boron story, but that's all I got for you today. This is the FARMacist, assisting crops on your farm. Give me a rating. Maybe you didn't like this podcast, but if you like my other ones, please give me 5 stars. Please share my platform with your friends and follow me on social media under the FARMERette. And if you want to get into my giveaway, make sure you give me some stars. Make sure you share it. And I'm going to do a drawing here at the end of the month to give away some little tchotchke things with agriculture in mind. So appreciate the shares, and we will talk to you on the next episode. Thanks for digging in.